50-50 tickets are up front if you're interested in sporting advocacy. 50-50 tickets, $1 each, 6 for $5, or Mr. Myers' wingspan for 20. Goes to advocacy. This advocacy drawing will be done at the luncheon today. So get your tickets this morning and before the luncheon for the first drawing. No, 10 minutes.
How much door price stuff they reeling in?
I don't know.
Who decides?
I don't know. Is that you?
I thought that was you.
That's not me.
Okay.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Scott. I'm the AV guy for you. If you happen to need a microphone down here, there's one to pass. Just don't worry about pushing buttons.
You'll take care of it.
Yep, it's unmuted, so it's just ready to go when you're ready to talk.
So I'll remember that it's unmuted so I don't say anything.
I mean, it's not bad.
I appreciate it. Good morning. Okay, Sean, I would assume. Good morning.
I didn't
Sorry,
ask if
did I-
anybody was sitting here.
Did I steal your spot?
No, you didn't steal my spot, so
I was like, I don't think we're sitting in any type of like order.
no.
And I had saved this one for Lisa, but then she sat over there, so I
Yeah.
was like, I'll just scoot down.
All right.
Kilby goes, so how many door prizes are we giving out? I'm like, I don't know. That's a really good question. He goes, so you're not in charge of that? I'm like, no, I thought you were in charge of
Mike's
door
was, and
prizes.
it used to be in charge of
Used to be, but
And then
it's
now it's member services. We've got real slim door prices. Like I'm talking like we may have like 10 or 15.
We give out 10 or 15 this session.
And hope to goodness that somebody else comes and yeah. So I'm wondering if I should go grab some door prices real quick.
Kilby's on it,
Okay.
I think.
Well, and like none of the exhibitors have given us anything for door prices and stuff, so I imagine we'll probably have a lot, but right now we're looking a little slim.
Hey, Kirsten.
So in my room, there are no coffee cups. There are no cups whatsoever in my room.
Don't you have a bougie room?
Yeah, I have a bougie room. There are no cups.
Interesting.
So like I got up this morning to pour my iced coffee in. I had no cup to pour my iced coffee in. I'm like, well,
I might have some cups.
I stole something that are 504.
I'm 502. We're next door to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I can.
yeah, I went ahead and I stole some disposable cups from breakfast this morning because
Makes sense.
yes.
This is the chair of the member services.
Yes.
So what?
Between you and them.
So where's Clara?
Who?
Kara.
Kara, is that her
Kara
name?
Barling.
Kara Barling. She is. We'll throw back in the pink. Oh, there. Glasses. Right, like directly diagonal from me.
Pink coat. Oh, she got her head down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right in front of Jason Perry.
So what do I need to ask her? To put together the set?
Yeah.
Or just tell her to go grab 10 items. So if you've got this stuff
I got
here,
3 items.
you've got 3.
Seven
There
more.
are, just go tell her to grab 7. I'll go grab them because I know where they're at.
Thank you.
I forgot.
Hey.
We kind of delegate them.
And- Do you want to take her with you so that way the next session?
Yes. Because remember in the old days, it used to
It
be,
used to be me,
right.
but then we took it to member services. And then
Oh.
yesterday they gave you door prize duty, so I
Right, that's why I was confused.
was confused too.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Shouldn't they
you.
be communicating with them? Not, why are we the middleman?
That's a really good question.
Make a note of that.
Check, check. Yeah, she's right there. Right behind Mahler.
Good morning, everyone. If you could start to make your way to your seats, it would be much appreciated. At this time, I will call the 2022 annual meeting of the Illinois Association of Vocational Agriculture Teachers to order. At this time, could you please take a look at the minutes of the 21 proceedings? And when you are ready, I will take a motion to approve those. Please state your name so that the secretary can record that information. Thank you. Is there a second? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. All those opposed, please say aye. Motion passes. Are the memorials to the past members on the screen? Okay, if we could please take a moment to remember the individuals that we have lost within the past year that provided service and direction to our organization. We thank those individuals and hope that their families find comfort in our concern. At this time, I would like to welcome you to the 100th meeting of our organization. Pretty big deal, right? I hear there is a bingo card out there, so my first sentence was going to try and hit every single one of those catchphrases all the way through the bingo card. So over the past 100 years, we've had an extraordinary amount of change, and I'm sure that we will have much more change going forward. Our membership has increased. We have lots of new teachers. Help me out. What am I missing? Folks. Well, I'm glad all you folks were able to be here today. What else do I have? Somebody help me out.
Glad to be back here together.
After COVID, in person. Yep. Have we got it? Where's the
Pandemic.
bingo? I'm waiting for it. We had to have hit most of them. Oh, I just wasted all that and you're not even ready. Goodness gracious. Okay. Well, I am going to go back and hit just a couple of those things. I am very glad that you are all able to be here. To our virtual friends at home, we're glad that you're able to join us as well, that we have that flexibility to include everyone that wants to be with us today. I think we have several things that are going to be discussed within the group, and appreciate the fact that we are able to have that ability to discuss, and hope that we are all willing to listen as we move forward with our agenda. Before we get started, could I please have all of our first time attendees stand up? Sorry about that. Simon did not say sit down. So would you please stand up again? No, seriously. Would all our first time attendees stand up again? Would all of our individuals who have attended 5 conferences or fewer please stand up? I just heard an, oh, wow. Please don't sit down a moment. Oh, wow. How about all of our attendees that have been 10 years or less? Okay, some of us are standing here and sitting here saying, oh boy, are we old? Okay. All right, Simon says you can sit down now. I asked those individuals to stand up, knowing that some of us have attended a few more meetings than others. Please be welcoming to our individuals who have maybe not attended as many conventions. Please take them aside. Please speak with them at lunch. Ask them about what happened in their classroom this year. Ask them what they're looking forward to going into next year. Share your favorite lesson. I know we're supposed to be on summer break, right? We don't work during summer. Obviously we do. And summer starts July 1st for a lot of us. So work just a little bit and help some of our newer members and those teachers who are heading into the classroom for the first time with some of your great ideas, because I know you all have them. At this time, we will begin new business, and I will turn the nominating portion over to our past president, Ann Petrowski.
All right, so nominations for the offices of Secretary, Treasurer, Vice President, President, and Past President were open last night at the section chairs meeting and will remain open until Thursday morning. So right now, we're going to start with Secretary, Treasurer. We have a nomination for Dr. Jay Solomonson. Are there any other nominations for Secretary, Treasurer? Again, these nominations will remain open until Thursday. For the office of Vice President, we have Josh Berg and Matthew Meyer. Are there any other nominations for Vice President? Again, nominations will remain open until Thursday. For the office of President, we have Miss Donna Page. Are there any other nominations for President? Nominations will remain open until Thursday. For past president, we have Miss Lisa Ulrich. Are there any other nominations for past president? Again, nominations will remain open until Thursday. I do want to remind people that if you have door prizes or silent auction items or auction items for the dessert / snack and beverage auction, please get those to us by 5 o'clock tonight so that we can get your stuff out and displayed. Thank you.
At this time, Joshua Berg will be bringing in our exhibitors. Hopefully. Went to get them. He went to round them up. Anyone in the audience with a great dad joke? Nice, clean, awful one? What? Where's who?
John Cabot.
Anyone? Yeah.
Oh, sheep joke. Is it bad?
Well played.
There are these two new pastors. I'm pregnant, I'm going to have twins.
Open mic night.
Well, I don't have any jokes to share, but on behalf of the 100th Celebration Committee, I do want to welcome you guys to our conference this year. For today, we do have a videographer present. That's going to be getting some snippets of our conference proceedings here, the reception this afternoon, as well as dinner. So committee chairs, after you're done with your reports, the committee would like to have the chairs go and interact with Dave, talk about what your committee is responsible for and some of the achievements and accomplishments that you have seen. So I just want to go ahead and preface that as well. Our award winners and recipients, you'll be recognized as well. And those who will be speaking during the reception tonight, we would like you to be filmed as well. So if you see Dave, say hi, introduce yourself, but just wanted to make you all aware that Dave is here with us today to capture some of our history. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate this year having the opportunity to have exhibitors back with us again. I think it adds another dimension to our conference. So make sure that you stop by and check out what they have to offer everyone. We'll let them introduce themselves and tell us which company that they represent.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Solomonson, and I'm representing Illinois State University. Please stop by if you're interested in our online master's degree program. We got some good stuff for you.
Hi, I'm Susan Graham. I'm from Southern Illinois University. Very excited to be in Bloomington with you this afternoon. Be sure to stop by and see us.
I'm Rachel Wright. I'm also with Southern Illinois University. So
Hi, Charlie Mitzdorfer, Parkland College, Champaign, representing Ag, Hort, and Diesel Tech. It's nice to see so many familiar faces to me, and I'm pretty new here, so I'm sure a lot of you see a lot more. It's great to be here.
Hello, I'm Allie Reichert with Site and Stricker Nobi Partners, a John Deere dealership. So we have 27 stores in Missouri and Illinois, and we are opening up a career academy for aspiring technicians. So stop by and see us and we can tell you all about that.
Hello, I'm Chad Follis with Hummer International. I saw many of you last week at the show last week, so good to see some strong faces. Happy again this week, but Hummer is a greenhouse design, build, and supply. Some of you have asked about our summer workshops, and they are ongoing. If you go to our website, you can still sign up for those.
I'm Ron Billiot with WildTech. A lot of familiar faces out here. We do a lot of presentations in the ag programs at the high schools. If your students are interested in auto and diesel or street rod building, stop by our booth. We'd like to come out and talk to your classes if you let us. A lot of opportunities, you all know, in the diesel industry. Thanks for inviting us.
Good morning. I'm Dane Simpson. I'm with the Great Plains Lesset. We're a labor management group representing the laborers union, and we are here promoting our apprenticeship program to give opportunities for youth into the construction trades. So stop by our booth and we can tell you more.
Good morning. I'm Bill Harmon. I'm proud to be a 32-year member of IAVAT, and I'm here with Lincoln Land Community College. So welcome to come by today and talk to us about the programs we offer, or if you'd rather talk to Holly, she'll be here tomorrow. So.
Hi, I'm Mary with Reality Works, and since you all have been gone and we've been gone, we've developed a lot of new products. I brought a lot of them with me today. So I'm the one standing out there with a piglet coming out the back end of a pig. That's my table. So stop by and visit. I also have our tractor pull challenge, our swine litter processing kit, and calf simulator. Some cool new tools to check out. Thanks.
Well, hello there. Isn't it nice to be back to normal again? I've been come to this conference for 25 years, Florida Fruit Association. I see a lot of the veteran ag teachers that we've worked with through the years and the fun that we've had. And now I see a lot of youngins. Well, our hospitality party is going to change a little bit. And how it's going to change is we're going to have to get some White Claw and some Truly for all you young teachers. The hospitality party will be tomorrow from 7 to 11 in one of these brickyards, and you will know. I want you to meet my daughter, Mandy, who took over for Randy. Randy retired, and she says hello. So many of you have committed Mandy through the fall and winter sales of strawberries, and she's a real delight to be with the company.
Good morning. I'm Brian Alexander, a good friend of Leo's for a number of years, 24-year veteran ag teacher out of Virginia. I understand that your all's hospitality party is off the hook compared to ours. So Leo knew the fun we have in our state, so I had to come see it in person. I'm representing Safety First. We created the curriculum a number of years ago. It's your one-stop shop, and it is the ag teacher in mind for safety, shop safety to greenhouse, any type of safety, and it gives you everything from your lesson plans all the way through to testing each of the students. So come by and see us. We've got some prizes to sign up for also. Love to meet you.
Well, hello, Illinois Ag Teachers. My name is Megan Shepard. I'm here representing Four Seasons Fundraising. I know many of you, probably the past few years, except for the last two, have probably had the pleasure to meet my lovely cohort here, Melissa Sivenson. And as of spring 2020, when things kind of went crazy, I joined the Four Seasons team, and unfortunately just was not able to get into Illinois for a couple years to see you guys in person. So it is just an absolute ultimate pleasure to be here to meet each and every one of you. I love coming to my ag teacher conferences. I'm a former Missouri ag teacher myself who's married to an ag teacher. Brother-in-law is an ag teacher. So you guys are by far my favorite people to come and be a part of and support you guys, because I know firsthand what you guys do in the classroom. Those 3 circles, FFA, SAE, and that classroom instruction is so very important. The time and dedication you give to the youth in agriculture of Illinois is so well appreciated. And, you know, we definitely want to commend each and every one of you for that. So definitely come by and see us out in the exhibit hall. We've got a lot of awesome, amazing programs that a lot of programs are actually taking off with here in Illinois. We're excited to grow even more. We also have a lot of great programs that people love to tag in with existing programs. So definitely keep us in mind and come see us. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the conference and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jim Gressens. I am a technical editor with American Technical Publishers near Chicago. We publish textbooks and online learning materials for various trade programs, including ag, including the FFA. I personally worked on all the books that we have displayed today, so stop by if you have any questions. Be more than happy to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am here. I'm a teacher at Pontiac High School, but also here, I guess, representing the Curriculum for Agri-Science Education Project and the CASE courses. So real quick, everybody who is CASE certified, could you stand up real quick for me? Everybody who's taken at least one class in CASE. Very good. Thank you much. There is a table out there, and there are some stickers or some ribbons to go on your name badges. I know that we are hosting this year for Pontiac. It's a little bit sad because I like seeing everyone come to town, but we're hosting 3 virtual institutes. I know that Rolling Meadows is hosting the new middle school curriculum as well. And so when I also throw this out there, I am going to do a quick recognition. If you are a lead teacher for CASE, please stand up. This is what I do to not forget Sarah this time. Gotcha this time. So these folks are lead teachers as well. And so we get the opportunity to make a little bit of money, but also get to go to other places in the country and work with high school educators and teach them. So if that's something that sounds like it might be in your wheelhouse as well, come through the CASE project and come take a look at it. And I think my last plug, and I thought about it a little bit last week when I saw all of the equipment dealers that were downstairs looking for technicians, there is a new CASE course. It's in its 2nd year of pilot called Technical Applications in Agriculture, TAA, for those that are in the acronym world, where they developed it working with the National Equipment Manufacturers Association. So if that's something that might fit your program, know that that one's out there. I think 11 courses in total. So come give the booth a look. I don't have as much to hand out other than some pins and ribbons and water bottles, but I would love to connect with you on that as well.
All right, thank you. Let's give all of our exhibitors a round of applause.
At this time, we have one resolution that's been turned in early, so we'll go ahead and go through the first reading of that resolution. We will not act on that until Thursday. As a reminder, if there are any resolutions to be brought forward, they are due by 5:30 this evening on the Google form that Mr. Edgar sent out Friday or Saturday. I remember that coming across email. And what that form does is it provides the Special Projects Committee with the justifications that they need to be able to write that resolution for it to be presented to the group then on Thursday. So resolutions will close 5:30 on Tuesday. When the board changed the policy last year, the intention was that we would read resolutions today. You could have the 2 or 3 days to discuss them prior to voting on them. So this resolution is the first one up. Ms. Rozier, I can't see anything. If you could please read that, that would be great. Not there yet. Okay. We don't have the resolution loaded. Okay. It's not ready to be read then? Special Projects Committee, yes, no? Can't get on the Wi-Fi. Okay. I do see the form.
Okay. Whereas to prevent district directors from looking like they have the advantage if their school should advance to have a test and or motion sent in a sealed envelope that would not be opened prior to the night of the contest. This would allow no school to come back and complain about if the contest was unfair and the host school had the advantage moving forward. Whereas this would apply to all leadership and career development events that would have tests or special practicums. Whereas the director would still be in charge of finding judges, but would no longer make the test or prepare any other material. Therefore, be it resolved that the state would mail in a sealed envelope all contest material to district levels that would not be opened until the night of the contest to allow even playing fields among the districts.
Is there any discussion? I hear lots of it. Anything you'd like to share with the group? Remember, this is a resolution from the membership. So the question is, who would be responsible for creating or writing the material? Potentially a decision for the board that runs that particular CDE or LDE was from the membership. Any further discussion? Chair recognizes Justin Howard.
I just have a question about, are we going to have to coordinate, all districts are doing all district competitions on the same date? Because if you don't, I think we all know people from other districts in here. If you don't, you're probably living under a rock. So just a thought that that's a lot of coordinating of dates across the state to have the same contest material.
Any further discussion?
I would like to know what the background of this is. I haven't had any experience with any issues of this, but there have been some. If you could please talk to me and some other former district directors to say what they are, so we have a better background of how to vote on this. Thank you.
Wyatt McGrew, Macomb. My rationale or my thought process going here, serving in a capacity as a district director on a board. I can't say I've had a lot of problem with this, but I think it goes back to a trust issue. And my comment to anybody in my district is if you have a problem, if you think that I'm doing it for personal gain or for gain of my own program, take the job. And I haven't seen anybody like jump up and take it yet. But I have a problem with this one. We share a lot of materials as district directors anyway, across the board. And I've reached out to some former directors and asked for help in contests too. But folks, a little bit of trust goes a long way. And I think we need to get back to that, or we need to keep that in mind.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? This resolution will remain open until Thursday. You have lots of opportunity to discuss that with both your FFA board representatives and your IAVAT board representatives. If you don't know who those people are, FFA board representatives, would you please stand up? These are the people you need to speak with. IAVAT board directors, board representatives, district representatives, would you please stand up? So those 10 people are the people from your districts that you can definitely get some additional advice from or ask their thoughts on how this may affect contests moving forward. Next up are the constitutional amendments. Those are found on page 11 in your program. Many of you heard constitutional amendment number 1 last week. Whereas outside of Illinois agriculture education, the term Section 8 is an abbreviated term for a program of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Whereas this terminology creates confusion for stakeholders outside of Illinois agricultural education when individuals or programs are identified as part of Section 8. Therefore, be it resolved that the Illinois Association of Vocational Agriculture Teachers rename the current 25 sections to 25 regions. Before we open discussion on this topic, there is a little bit of background. This topic I heard the word blindsided today, that advisors and students appeared to be blindsided last week when this topic came up. This topic has been discussed by your FFA board directors and your IAVAT board directors for well over a year when this issue was brought to us from the membership. This issue came from the membership. The information, or when the constitutional amendment was written, it was sent out prior to the deadline that was needed for the membership to read it in order to vote upon it, both at the FFA board or at the FFA level and the IAVAT level. Additionally, there was an email sent from Mindy asking for questions on the issue. It was a Google form too. Okay. Zero was the number. So there were no questions brought forward on this issue. I will clarify that both groups will eventually, if terminology changes, both groups individually need to pass that, just as a point of clarification before we start. At this point, I will open this topic for discussion. Please wait for the microphone. The chair recognizes.
I'll start this one. Wyatt McGrew, Macomb. I had some tractor time to think about this issue when I got home from state convention. And what came to mind, and I'll share this one with you. I've been teaching for 10 years now. For those of you that were here when I was a state officer, I hope you feel old. Because now I'm getting there. When I was in about my third year teaching Macomb High School, mind you, I started came at start of a new program, and my dynamic of students is much different than I had at the first school I taught at. We got home from a contest one night, and I had one student that mom didn't come to pick him up. And so I did what I would tell any student teacher not to do when they become a teacher. I took the young man, put him back in the activity bus, and drove him across town to take him home. I took him to Section 8, and I never left the city limits of Macomb. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, I want you to pull up your phones. I'm actually challenging you to do this right now. Take your phone out, type in your city name that you teach at, and type in Section 8. Those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, it'll take you to the affordable housing in your own little area. I didn't know that until I did it. And then I had a state officer, fortunate enough to have one, and I asked her when she called me to say, hey, Ms. McGrew, how's it going? I said, have you and your team talked about this? No, we really don't know where the issue's coming from. And I had to explain that to a student. Most of us in our communities call that something like the Little Red Housing. That's what we called it at the edge of Bushnell when I drive in there and drive by it every time. Some of us refer to that as the bad area of town, which is what we refer to that by Lincoln School in Macomb. But regardless, every one of us has a way of thinking about the Section 8 in our own communities in a derogatory or in a negative way. Now, last week, I heard it from the student perspective. And I heard it referred to as and compared to as something like when the name change came for FFA. I heard it referred to as, or the conversation about when middle school or young ladies were allowed to join FFA and compared to the same. My problem with that is, folks, those of us that are in central and southern Illinois, does it really impact us? The answer is no. It doesn't change anything for us. It doesn't change our convention. It doesn't change our committees. It doesn't change our CDEs or our contests. What does it do? It is that it opens up an opportunity for us to actually do something in an urban area of our state that doesn't always get the greatest rap. It creates opportunities for students in areas, and frankly, it actually holds us to what we tell every one of our administrators in our communities when we all try to express how agriculture is changing and how we're trying to encompass agriculture for every student that we teach. I have 600 high school students in Macomb High. Of that, I'd say roughly 15 to 20% are actually my true agriculture students. I'm in a district that's over 50% low income. And a lot of my students live in Section 8. They never leave our city limits. Folks, I don't know why this is a big issue for us. I understand we're traditionalists, we're ag teachers, we're bullheaded. But at the same time, if we're creating an opportunity for somebody else or for more students to become and feel included in our organization, I hope you think about this the next 2 days. And I hope that you create opportunities for our students or for potential students and not just tear it down based on what is or what has been.
Parker Bain, Section 9, District 2. If you feel old when you think of Wyatt as a state officer, wait till you get a load of Hoff. I had to have somebody connect the dots for me on this. And, you know, some of you might be a little surprised at what I had to say on this topic. I've been a part of Section 9 for 30 years and a couple years. And I know a lot of you in this room have been around a lot longer than I have, but this was brought to my attention first by somebody discussing legislative work. And as you know, in the General Assembly in the state of Illinois, most of our legislators, because of our state constitution, are up in the Chicagoland area. A lot of those legislators have absolutely no idea about the structure of agricultural education. And a lot of them have so many things going through their minds that they just give us, you know, just a little sliver of bandwidth whenever we have that conversation. And so this first was brought up by a friend of mine, and he told me, he said, this is going to have to probably change based on what's going on with our legislative climate. And I'm like, okay, help me understand what's happening here. And he said, when we put a kid up in front of these Chicagoland politicians, legislators, ISBE board members, they stand up and say, I'm the president of Section 8. What do you think goes through the mind of those stakeholders? Oh, didn't think about that. When this was set up, I think that everybody had great intentions. I don't think that anybody, you know, even though this Section 8 goes back to 1937 in terms of the housing program, I don't think anybody had an idea, you know, that the connotation would kind of become, you know, somewhat of an urban dictionary kind of thing. But that's exactly what it's become. And regardless of how you feel about tradition, I mean, I hold traditions very near and dear to me, but I just think of one thing, and I don't ever want to put my students in a situation where they're embarrassed. And if I taught in Section 8 and I was sending people to meet with legislators, I was sending people to meet with ISBE board members at our testimonies that a lot of us go to. And I just want you to think about this. Replace the word Section 8 with low-income housing. Would you want to send one of your students up there to say, hi, my name is Parker Bain, and I am the low-income housing reporter. My name is Parker Bain, and I just won the low-income housing public speaking contest. My name is Parker Bain, and I just won the low-income housing science fair. Now, maybe you did feel blindsided by this. Maybe the communication, I recognize that there are communication breakdowns that go through, and I can empathize with that. Maybe you have an issue with the fact that we're changing sections to regions or wanting to change sections to regions. But I hope you can empathize with the fact that for a group of our young people, something really needs to be done. Thank you.
Good morning, Kendra Callahan, Kewanee High School. I too want to echo some of Mr. McGrew's comments. And I want you to think about your students getting ready to go to their first FFA event, and they've zipped up that blue jacket, and you've done everything in your power to build their confidence for that day. You may not personally think of Section 8 as a derogatory term. Your students might not think of Section 8 as a derogatory term. So instead, I want you right now to think about the terms that are said inside of your classrooms that get under your skin. For example, for me, that would be yee yee. You'll make a girl crazy. You say the word yee yee in front of me to describe another student. Labels are incredibly important to our young people right now. They look to describe their identity with labels a lot. Kewanee High School has over 20% of our students have housing arrangements that are assisted by Section 8, and an even greater number that are government housing within our city limits. One being right across the street, and it is known as Fairview. And so if I get my students in a van and I tell them tonight, when we get there, you are not going to say I'm from Kewanee, but you are going to say I am from Fairview. That label would embarrass them if they live there or not. It is not one that they would want to carry. We have a chance to make students feel comfortable and set them up for success. Consider your own students and what label they would not want to have to say out loud. That's what's being asked of you.
Emily Newcomer, Durand. I guess I just have some questions for John and Mindy. I feel everyone's sentiment here. I'm on board. But at the reporting and doing stuff for the national level, is there anything that makes it difficult? Or if we look at other states, I know other states are already regions. So I guess at your guys' level, does it?
Mindy Buntsmeyer, Illinois FFA Center. There's nothing that at the national level that would impact us in any way. Other states, the common terminology are districts, areas, regions. Very, very few have sections. So it's not language that's foreign to national FFA or to us. But as far as what we report to national FFA, whether we call it section, region, area, or district, it would not impact us in any way in that.
Other questions?
And I just from a standpoint from the FFA Center, the communication breakdown that we're talking about, I would really like more insight on that and how we can communicate it better. We do rely obviously on the listserv for that and board reports and board updates. But if there is a better way for us to communicate that, I know the timing, we did not have a lot of time. But if it's a time issue, I'd like to know that, or if it's a communication issue, because the communication issue is one that I continue to struggle with. So insight on that would be very helpful.
Yeah, Justin Howard, Section 18. I guess I have a few questions, and I think anybody that knows me knows that I don't mind change. In fact, it's been very controversial, my time on the board with change. So I guess, I think in the 30s is when Illinois FFA made sections and districts, from what I can see. And HUD, the Housing Authority, started Section 8 housing in 1974. So sections in FFA have been long-standing before HUD, so I guess they didn't consult FFA when they did that. But I guess my biggest question is, what has changed since 1974 in Chicago area for that housing all of the sudden in 2022 to make this necessary? And again, I don't mind change. I'm searching for information here. And if we have got some booming programs going and things are expanding, I guess that's what I want to hear. I want to hear that this is not just a name change. I guess I'd like to hear not just that it's a negative derogatory thing, because I happen to teach, I heard somebody say 50% low income housing, try 87%. So that's where I'm at teaching. So my kids know what Section 8 is, but it's termed low income housing. So I understand that there's a difference there. So I guess I just want to know what has changed with our partners and friends and colleagues in Section 8 FFA that is going to benefit the most, other than being afraid to say Section 8 because it correlates to a government program. Thanks.
Joe Heavner, Amboy. I agree with a lot of the previous speakers. I would stand in favor of this. I don't really need to repeat everything they said, but one point I do want to make is, at least for me, the name change isn't going to hurt, but it will make life a little bit easier when I'm explaining our events to non-ag ed folks. And I'm saying, hey, we just won a section CDE. Well, they're like, well, what's a section? And I say, well, it's kind of like winning a regional in sports. And if we make the change to regions, it's that much easier to make that connection. So just a simple quality of life change might make things a little easier for folks, explaining our events. Thanks.
Jennifer Alessi, Section 8. I started teaching ag in 2015, 2016. The moment I got into my building, I was like, yep, we're Section 8. I go, oh yay, we're Section 8. I knew the moment I walked in. Like, I am a suburban girl. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. It made a difference for me, and not because I tried to be like, oh, we're Section 8. That means that we're something else. It was, oh, we're Section 8, so we're just going to have to combat that. So it's not something that is new. I think it's something that now our culture and climate allows us to talk about, but it's something that's been there. I didn't even realize that sports did regions. So when I heard regions, I was like, regions? That's all right. I mean, I like areas. But yeah, so it's something that's been there, and it's something that I thought about right away as soon as I started teaching.
Riley Hinchy, Streeter High School. Justin, just to answer your question, from what I see it, kind of where I'm at, we're finally reaching that area a little stronger. And we have individuals that are willing to have ownership in our organization and want to be a part and understand that they would like to have that change so that they can be a better part of our organization.
Alicia Ward, Hamilton County. A lot of you guys from Northern Illinois are talking, so I hope that I can represent you guys okay. Whenever I first heard this or saw this, my answer was no. This is just another name change, like Justin said. And it's just, we change and we change and we change and we change and change. And even as a young ag teacher, having an ag teacher as a father, that's all you do is change, and it can be for the good. So it's very interesting. My opinion and perspective has changed in the past 10 minutes as to what, say, Parker said when it came to legislative events or anything like that. Because when I think of Section 25, because that's where I reside, we don't really use Section 25 when we talk to other important individuals. It's not like, yay, I'm from Section 25. It's like, I'm an FFA member. When they go get a job, it's not like I'm Section 25 unless it's on their resume and it says president or vice president or whatever it is. So I was just like, hey, this name doesn't come up as much as we really, or at least doesn't come up like I thought it did for you guys. So I just thought it was a nonsense kind of change. And I have now changed my perspective. Not saying my vote is for sure swayed on the other side, but I for sure will think about it now. So thank you guys for helping me with that.
My name is Kendall Wright from Section 8 in Rolling Meadows High School. I came from a different state. I just finished my 8th year teaching. And the first thing I thought of when I found out that I was in Section 8, I grimaced a little bit just because it is a barrier to our students. We are a very suburban area and there's a lot of barriers to our students. We took them to an event and the first thing they said when they got out was, "We do not look like these students. They don't talk like them. They don't look like them. They don't have backgrounds like the people that you work with." And there's no reason to make another barrier for students who could be a wonderful addition to the agricultural industry. And honestly, will have to be additions to the agricultural industry because we don't have traditional numbers like we used to. So I think that this is an easy change that may feel like a big deal now, but 2 years from now, will anybody really remember that we were sections except for advisors? So thank you.
Okay, New Berlin, or Caitlin Cray, New Berlin. I also serve on special projects and we discussed this briefly in one of our meetings. Going back to what Joe said about doing section, IHSA being regionals and sectionals, I think for a lot of us that it really doesn't matter if we went and turned the terminology to regions and sections, we would never have above a section 5 because districts would become that. And to our legislator partners who already understand IHSA breakdown, it would match that. So I know we discussed in special projects and I kind of have talked to my students. They're like, well, if we're changing it, that makes sense. Whereas if we're changing it just because, then isn't it just because and we don't have a reason? And obviously we all have gotten reasons standing in this room or sitting in this room today, but I just kind of want to throw out that idea to some of our schools. Maybe if we make the change, make it all the way so it matches, and that would help the legislators as well in understanding that.
Jennifer Smith from Williamsville, and this might be more of a question for Mindy or John versus, I guess, or the board. And I might be completely wrong and you can tell me to sit down and zip it and that's totally fine. But if this came before our membership at the state convention and they had already voted on it, how do we go around that without disregarding their vote? Because if we're a student, and I'm all for the change, okay? Like I totally see that, but if we're a student ran organization and they have a voice, how do we address that?
I think your IVAT board is prepared to talk about that.
I just,
But
like I said,
thanks
I'm
for
all-
putting me in the hot seat, Jennifer. I promise not to tell you to sit down and shut up. So there you go.
Okay. Like I said, I'm all for it. I just, so we know the logistics on how it works.
Okay, I'll go ahead and answer that for the board. Liz Harris, District 2 Director. First, I'll answer the question about the names that were chosen because there was a lot of discussion about names and we ended up going with changing to regions so that way we wouldn't have to also change the districts. We thought the least amount of change might be better. There was a lot of discussion about that and that's what we ultimately ended up on. The second point about, since this was already voted down by our student membership, we would have to bring it up again next year at state convention in order to make that happen. So we'd both have to approve before it could go into effect. Does that answer your question? Oh, sorry.
I thought you might talk about the potential for withdrawal of the motion, but if you don't, that's fine. Technically, if you did vote for it and you chose regions and FFA still stayed section, they would still be section presidents, but it would be the region agronomy CDE and the region. So FFA stuff would stay FFA. So it would still be section public speaking, section parliamentary procedures, section proficiency awards, and section officers. But all your other career development events that are hosted by IAVAT would be region. So we could have two languages, which is, and I know there's the murmur, which is the discussion of potentially, so I guess I'll say it. And then if the IAVAT board wants to correct me, they can tell me to sit down and shut up. But what was discussed in IAVAT board yesterday is that we would have a robust discussion about this morning and try to address questions and concerns, and that the IAVAT board would potentially withdraw the motion, form a task force of those of you who are interested, both for and against, as well as grab some students that were interested and get the students to understand the topic better, both for and against. And then that task force come back to both organizations next summer so that you could, again, and not saying that it would pass then or fail then, but then you have the potential to be on the same language again. And does that fully answer your question? And did I overstep IAVAT board? Okay. Oh boy.
I gotta take a minute.
I promise I won't say everything that comes in my head because Justin keeps sending me and telling me that he's rubbing off on me. So my only question is, you said that the IAVAT ones would still be regional and the FFA ones would still be sectional. What events are which? Because they only really get split at the district level, not at the section level anyway. So really you'd be changing the name just to say we changed the name, but nothing would change, right? Or am I confused?
So the ones that would remain FFA or section would be public speaking, parliamentary procedure, and proficiencies, as well as section officers. That would stay section. And then everything else, all the other career development events, leadership development events would be region. So that would be the difference.
So it would be whichever ones the district FFA board takes care of would be section events still. Whatever ones the district IAVAT board takes care of would now be regional events.
Well, yes, because your rules are IAVAT governed rules, and for those other.
But each section
that I
adopts their
mentioned.
own section rules.
That's true.
So we could call it the Krista contest, the Krista agronomy contest, if we really
If you
wanted.
got the people in your section to
I
do
think
that.
they'd vote for it.
Well, I do too, because the section you're in anything can happen over there. But yes, that could happen. No diss on that section. They know I love them, but yeah, we all beat to different drums and walk them differently. Here you go.
And Krista, to further clarify, that would be for if it were approved at this conference and then it was brought back before the FFA membership next year and they voted to make the change, then everything would be the same. So it would be for 1 year that multi-word chaos would ensue if it passed.
Kara Pointer, Sycamore Section 6. I just want to say that I feel like the communication was great to us. I've been teaching, this will be my 20th year, so I understand. But for all of those people that stood up that are 5 years and younger, they might not be comfortable talking to their students about this without having these conversations first. So I think that the communication wasn't from the board to the teachers. I think it was from the teachers to the students. And so I think that now that the teachers can be more educated on it, I would hope that we could go home and have educated conversations with our students, and then the votes could change next year if it can't happen before then. So that's what I just want to say. It's no lack on Mindy, John, all those lists of messages. I got them. I read them. But if we don't have those conversations with our kids won't know, where we stand. And with that group of individuals that are under 5 years, even under 10 years, when I was a 5-year teacher and under, I don't know that I'd be comfortable speaking to my students about something that I didn't have the background on. So now that we have the background, I hope that we can have conversations with our students about this change.
Okay. I'm in kind of an awkward place, so I'm going to come up here. I'm going to try to keep this really brief. I just, Noel Coronado, Chicago Ag Sciences. So a lot of the things that have already been said were things that I had written down to say, and honestly have been in my mind since 1997. And so for those of you who don't know me, I was an FFA member at Chicago Ag Sciences from 1997 to 2001. And then I followed a really random career path and was pulled back to Chicago Ag Sciences by a person I would call my second mother, Lucille Shaw. So I found myself back as part of the FFA organization, but from a different perspective. And I can tell you that 14 through 17 through 18-year-old Noelle loved FFA. Everything about it. Was involved for my freshman year, even wanted to be a state officer. I just couldn't get past that section president seat. And so back then, we talked about the things. Sorry. Back then, we talked about these things within our chapter, but we never said anything outside of our chapter. And we were kind of taught to support each other with things like Section 8 because it was an issue back then for us. And I can tell you when people would come visit, I don't know where to go with this static. I'm going to go over here. I was one of those kids that would stand in a room and talk to people, and they would say to me, Section 8, that's because we had section officers. So I would be standing next to a section officer, and they would say, I'm the Section 8 president, or I'm the Section 8 treasurer. And we would get questioned, not in a bad way, but why Section 8? Why are you specifically in Section 8? And while all of us across the state experience this, even maybe some of our family members do, I know some of mine do. I think someone asked the question, why now? And I think like Jen got up and talked about culture and climate and the timing being right. And I think we are so used to self-preservation at Chicago Ag that we never said anything. And that was my learned behavior in being a student. And it was my learned behavior for my first 7 years or my first 6 years as an ag teacher. And then I made a couple new friends who gave me the courage to start talking about it. And I realized I may have not had a platform when I was a student or been brave enough or had the courage because of other people's learned behavior or just not speaking up. But I have to now because of my kids. And I owe it to everyone who predated me. I owe it to Lucille Shaw, who cried when she found out that this was an amendment and a possibility. And I owe it to every student that is coming after and future student that I'll teach. And so I just, from being that kid that was in that position, I cannot tell you how grateful and thankful I am, regardless of what happens, to the people that got up today and to the people that had conversations and will have future conversations with their students on behalf of myself and my chapter and any student that's ever faced the situation where they feel embarrassed or isolated emotionally, or they feel like they don't belong. Because we're not here, and I can say this from experience as a student, we're here because we want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And my kids love this organization. They love it. And no matter what, I know they'll keep loving it and coming back to it, as will I, because we know that not just us, but all of us have a bigger role to play. So I invite all of you to come visit us. If you're looking for additional ways to maybe talk about this with your students or talk to me today, I'm a 52-week employee. So if you feel like taking a trip during the summer, I'll be there Monday through Friday. But please, if you have any additional questions, feel free to approach me and ask me. I'm here all 3 days, and I just want to say thank you again. I'm sorry that we never spoke up sooner because we should have. But since inception of our chapter, this has been something that has constantly been a part of things we've had to explain away or make sound better when inside we wondered why as well. So thank you.
Trent Tabor, Cambridge. Just a really quick question for the board or anybody else in the room, just a Parley Pro question. Is there any way that we can add to this amendment to that it would approve after the approval next summer, or amend it to pass upon approval at by the FFA delegates next summer, so we can all spend the year communicating all of the things that everybody did, and so then when the delegates approach this again next summer, we can then hit the ground running on the same page.
That it could go into effect if and when the FFA membership approved it. That's what you're meant, that's you're basically asking that. I'm just making sure I have that correct in the minutes.
I am. Chair recognized.
Mike White, Paxton Buckalota. Yeah, an amendment to a constitutional bylaw can be amended as long as it doesn't go beyond the original scope of what the amendment was proposing. So I don't personally see why that would be a problem.
Thanks, Mr. Rhodes. You always seem to forget me sometimes. Hi, I'm Tennyson Kerr, and I'm currently going to be the teacher at Iroquois West. I know I don't really have a whole lot of room to say very much, but for me personally, I feel like as a first-year teacher, I would have no problem discussing current issues with my students, such as the proposed amendment that's happening right now. I got to student teach at a wonderful place who allowed me to be very comfortable with my students and learn a lot from them. And one of the major things that I learned was how mature my students are in understanding big issues that are happening in our community and in our country today. I mean, these kids taught me things that I didn't even know about. And so for me personally, I feel like no matter what, I have no problem discussing this. I feel like I have a lack of information of what is the thought process behind each of the renaming. Why are we going through a full year of, okay, we're going to test this and then possibly vote on it, but then everything's going to change and it not stay consistent for the kids? Because these kids need consistency. That is our one job as ag teachers. And if we're going to make change, we need to make it permanent so these kids can feel comfortable and safe no matter what, wherever they are, and understand why we're doing what we're doing, because we're doing it for the kids. So personally, I feel like I need more information going into being able to explain this to my kids and understand everything, and being able to comfort them in the fact that this is going to stay. Thank you.
Joe Heavner, Amboy. I move to amend the amendment by adding when the Illinois Association FFA makes the same change to the end of the amendment, so that it would read, therefore be it resolved that the Illinois Association of Vocational Agricultural Teachers rename the current 25 sections to 25 regions when the Illinois Association FFA makes the same change.
Heard you, I saw you.
Yes. Here you go, Mindy. So I would like to
Hold on, please, while we refer this to the parliamentarian.
not yet. What did the dog say when he went to go buy chapstick? Put it on my bill.
Because I made the motion. I was going to make the motion.
Very much.
And if we're gonna do a friendly amendment. Okay.
Based on our conversation with the parliamentarian, this came as a motion from the board that was presented. So previous information or previous notice was given. So the amendment is in order. Right? Did I say that right? Okay. So there was a second on the motion. Mr. Huebner, you have the floor.
Thank you. I made the amendment because so far, I think the biggest obstacle to this would be the conflicting terminology. That's really the only reason I've heard that makes sense on why not to make this change. With this amendment, that would eliminate the conflicting terminology. I think it's important as an association of ag teachers that we kind of take that first step. In my opinion, this is a change that should be made. For all the reasons that have already been given. And I think if we make that first step, then next year at the FFA convention, the FFA members will likely follow suit. I think if we don't pass this, then it'll just keep dragging on. And so personally, I'd like to just make that first step and get the ball rolling. Thank you.
So Kendall Wright from Section 8 in Rolling Meadows again. Thank you all for listening to all of this. I encourage you, if you feel like you don't have enough information still, to seek out more information on your own. Section 8 advisors and students can't be responsible for educating everyone. It is your job as a citizen and FFA to really research on your own and find out this information. If you're still confused, then the people who have volunteered to speak with you, go to them. But it's also important that you take an active role in figuring out what would be most inclusive for all students. So please make sure that you don't let this conversation die to here, but actually go and look up some of these things for yourself as well.
Sorry, Jenna Leslie here. I'm not an English teacher. So the amendment, I'm not, if our students see us adopt it, right, and we change that region, I feel that then we would be following by example versus putting it on our students to change it in the following year. So I'm not sure if we would amend the amended amendment, right? But for me, I feel that it's very good for our students to see us be that focal level of change and that lead by example. I see that a little bit more so, but I may not be understanding the amendment properly.
Angie, are you still wanting the microphone?
Angie Bain, Tremont, Section 9. I normally don't say anything at these types of events because that's kind of more Parker's forte, but I am going to say something coming from the perspective of not being in FFA in high school and starting a new program that didn't have FFA. My kids are very confused. My general public is very confused. My administrators are very confused, and they really just don't understand like the section, region, district, whatever breakdown anyways. So why not take this as an opportunity to make it easier for all of us and make it easier to sell our programs and our accomplishments and our achievements. I think this change is great, but let's take it a step further and change it to mimic or match the IHSA schedule. I know we can't do it perfectly, but wouldn't it make sense to say, hey, we just won a sectional championship. Hey, we just won a regional championship. Hey, we just won a super sectional. I don't know that there's a way we can do that easily, but I know that's adding more to this amendment, but I think it could be discussed further. If we're gonna make the change anyways, let's try to mimic what we can do to make it easier for everyone to understand what we're doing, because I've had to explain so many times what happened, our accomplishments, people don't understand it. Let's make it match, let's make it easy. And if we're making the change anyways, maybe we could see how we could make it flow with what our public knows and what our administrators know. Like my principal and superintendent have no idea what level of accomplishment we have when we make it to the top 4 or whatever, because it doesn't match how IHSA does it. And unfortunately, that's, it is what it is. And that's something we have to combat, but if we can fix it, let's fix it.
At this time, if this pertains to the amendment, please speak, Mr. Turnow. If not, we are going to vote on the amendment. Okay. The amendment. There's a speaker in the back regarding the amendment.
Maureen Clinton, Section 22, D5. I think this amendment is great. I look from the perspective of I support the idea of the name change. However, I also want to respect the students that voted 40 to 400 against this amendment, giving them the opportunity and the time frame to digest our decision that's made here at IAVAT and potentially change their decisions come next convention.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
I have a point of information. I'm just wondering, can the students vote on this at any other time other than just state convention? No, I didn't know.
I apologize. No one wants to listen to me talk, but I have another question. So if we change the name, which again, I'm not opposed to, just looking for answers. My question is, what do our neighboring states call their sections, districts, regions, areas, all that?
Justin, I need you to hold that. We need to vote on the amendment and hold discussion to the amendment only, which Mr. Huebner remind me is to delay any name changes until the FFA accepts a change. Okay, until they make the same change. Is there any further discussion on that particular amendment?
Lisa, just to clarify real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we vote on this amendment, it does not necessarily pass the pending motion here. We're just agreeing to add that verbiage to the end of the amendment, and it only needs a majority vote to pass this amendment.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So we are voting on the amendment portion only to add to the main motion to extend this change until after the students accept it. We are not voting on changing. At this point, don't ask me, ask Mike, please.
Yeah. Parker Bain, Normal West, Section 9, District 2. State of Illinois. United States of America. All right, there we go. I'm just like, so we discussed the parliamentary merits of the timing and the motion, but I'm a little concerned from the standpoint of we're our own independent association, and we're now putting forth a constitutional change that will now be implemented based on the actions of another association. Is that in order?
Did you lose your microphone? When until Okay, based on the information, the parliamentary inquiry, we are not directing the work of the FFA organization. Therefore, the motion would be in order because we're not forcing them to make a decision. They being the FFA members will make that decision on their own. And the reverse is also true. They are not able to force IAVAT to make a decision should we change something. Therefore, the chair recognizes Mr. Bain.
I move to amend the amendment by inserting the words to apply, and I may need some wordsmithing on this, okay, to think about how this goes. I move to amend the amendment to insert the words with an expiration within 2 years of the adoption of the amendment, constitutional amendment at IAVAT.
Second. Is there a second? I can't say your last name now. Thank you. Mr. Bain.
Since there's two things, and then, I'll also defer. Well, I think you explained Mike's point pretty accurately here. In discussing this with the thought process, given the fact that this is a contingency both on the part of IAVAT and on the part of FFA, we thought that an expiration would be good so that this wasn't just hanging out there indefinitely. So as if FFA doesn't act within 2 years, that 20 years down the line, this comes up, FFA makes some sort of a change, and then boom, our constitution changes. So that is why I propose this amendment.
Doug Turnaw Ramsey. I believe the amendment itself, for me, and excuse me, I don't put it in a better term, I find it as poor form. Honestly, folks, we are the adults. We are the individuals. We are the leaders. We are leading our groups. Myself, if we're going to make the change, we make the change. The students follow or they don't. We make the change. Spending 2 years of leadership in a company, 2 years outside of education, in that upper leadership of a company, when you make a change, you have to make a change for good, and you make a change for the entire company, especially being in the upper leadership. I do not find that we as a group are going to benefit from the amendment. And I love you folks for making the amendment and trying to make this work. I get that. I get why you set forth the amendment. Love you for it. But we ourselves, as we look at ourselves as leadership of our community, of our students, are we doing them service by the amendment? I do not believe so. Are we doing, on the entire motion together? I think Mrs. Bain made a really, really good point a little bit ago. Sometimes we think back on history so much, we sometimes step on our own feet. Whether you're in a company, whether you're here, leadership of your schools, your students, we step on our own feet. And we have a hard time sometimes. Who in here remembers all the times we never knew whether the Ag Ed line item was going to get proposed every single year? There's so many of us out here, it ain't funny that the idea of losing funding was adamant every single year. And we're arguing over something to where if you can see through the forest of trees, if this even helps us one time in the next 30 years, keeping our Ag Ed line item still rolling, thank God. I'll be honest, I don't care what you call me. I don't care what term you use for me. Anybody can call me whatever they want, as long as I get funding for my students and I can still be there and operate my program for my kids, which I'm very similar to Mr. Howard. I am well over 80% low income, I don't care what you call me. Keep my funding. Keep me operating for my kids. Thank you.
Any additional discussion on the expiration of this in 2 years? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote on the amendment of the amendment. For this to expire within 2 years. A reminder that only paid 21-22 year IAVAT members are able to vote on this issue. Paid 21-22 members. Okay. At this time, we will take a voice vote on the amendment of the amendment to include the 2-year expiration term. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say aye. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. All those not in favor, please say no. From what I heard up here, motion passes. Okay. They want me to get the big gavel out. Passed. It was. It was. Going back to the amendment to hold the change until after FFA accepts the change, which would be in 2 years. Mindy, could you please read the official? Sorry. It's all about your steps, Gary.
So the way that it would read is therefore be it resolved that the Illinois Association of Vocational Agriculture Teachers rename the current 25 sections to 25 regions. When the Illinois Association FFA makes the change within 2 years is the way I think that it should read. I don't know if you want the terminology expiration in it. I don't have that quite typed up yet because it just passed. So
It would be Joe's amendment with the expiration date.
yeah, and
Yes.
Joe's, the amendment made by Joe Huebner, Section 2, Amboy, says amendment, add the language when the Illinois Association FFA makes the change. So therefore, since the amendment to the amendment passed, it would be when the Illinois Association FFA makes the change within 2 years. Is that the way you want it to read, Madam President?
Yes.
Good enough.
Okay, a reminder, we are voting on the amendment. We are not voting on the entire constitutional amendment. We are only voting on the portion to add the timeline. Okay. Any further discussion? At this time, we will vote on the amendment as read. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. So we will bring this topic back up again on Thursday to vote on the entire amendment. That was fun. Clap your hands. Yeah. Thank you to everyone for listening and sharing your thoughts. That does move us on to constitutional amendment number 2. And remember, constitutional amendment number 2 stands between you and lunch. Okay, just keep that in perspective. Not that we will not give it its due time. Again, this amendment will be voted on Thursday. So we have plenty of time to discuss and ensure that we have everything just the way we want it before we make that move. Constitutional Amendment number 2. Whereas the Illinois Association of Vocational Agriculture Teachers includes the word vocational, which is an outdated term that fails to represent the scope of 21st century agricultural education. Whereas the Illinois Association of Vocational Agriculture Teachers is celebrating 100 years as an organization. Whereas the National Association of Agriculture Educators changed their name in 1997, removing the word vocational and replacing teacher with educator. Whereas the words vocational agriculture were removed from FFA jackets in 1988 and replaced with agricultural education. Whereas this change would bring our association into alignment with other related state and national organizations. Whereas Iowa and Indiana both already use the acronym IAAE. Therefore, it be resolved that the Illinois Association of Vocational Agriculture Teachers, IAVAT, be renamed to the Illinois Association of Agricultural Educators, ILAAE. The floor is open for discussion. The chair recognizes Ms. Rozier.
Sherry Rozier, Section 21, Mount Vernon. I proposed this amendment to the board with the intention of removing the word vocational from the name of our association. This same topic was brought up, I think, a little more than 10 years ago. And even though it did not meet the 2/3 majority vote required to change the Constitution, it did have the support of over half of our membership at that time. I would like to provide a brief history of the word vocational and its use in relation to agricultural education. 1988, the wording on the FFA jackets was changed from vocational agriculture to agricultural education, removing the word vocational. In 1997, the National Vocational Agriculture Teachers Association changed their name to the National Association of Agricultural Educators, removing the word vocational. In 1998, the American Vocational Association changed its name to the Association for Career and Technical Education, removing the word vocational. And in 2006, the Carl D. Perkins Vocational and Technical Education Act changed its name to the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act, removing the word vocational. Other relevant facts. Within the NAAE, only 10 of the 48 member states still use the word vocational in their name. And in Illinois, while we still use the phrase area vocational centers in many of our schools, many schools, including my own, commonly and locally refer to their career center as your area career center, as it is more relatable to your community. Quite simply, vocational is an outdated term that lacks relevance to students, staff, and many and much of the communities in which we live and serve. To many people, the word vocational education refers to training for a trade involved working with your hands. And while we are most definitely hands-on in our classrooms, greenhouses, shops, and labs, as agricultural educators, we do so much more. We have transitioned from job-specific training to skill-based, rigorous, challenging career and technical education that prepares students for a wide range of careers in the agriculture industry. I know there are some who feel that this year, being the 100th anniversary, it's not the right time to change the name. But personally, I disagree. I think this is the perfect time as we celebrate and honor our history, but we also look to the next 100 years. The teachers who started this association 100 years ago looked to the future. And as we move into the next 100 years of our association, I challenge all of you to do the same, to look to the future and what will be the best name that represents our students, our membership, our purpose, and our profession. Thank you.
Further discussion. Wow, you really took that lunch comment to heart. Any further discussion on this constitutional amendment?
Riley Hinchy Streeter, section 7. There we go. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a few years ago, my students hosted an activity called Becoming Semi-Aware. And I remember one line very distinctly from this activity, and it said, "We can't educate the world about semi-safety, but starting in our own backyard is an important place to start." And that last part of that line, I think very heavily on when I reflect over change and I take a look at how we can impact people on our local level and how we can impact people overall. Starting in our own backyard is an important place to start. So I often think of my students when the term vocational is used at Streeter Township High School. I've had questions such as, what does that mean? Or why is that important? Although the explanation for me is simple, my students don't understand it and they don't relate to it in any which way and form. As we move into our future and we look at ways to relate to our students, I believe going back to that one line of starting in our own backyard is an important place to start is a great way that we start to look at our future and make this change and remove vocational. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Okay, all right. Well, Mike Butler, section 14 at Athens High School. I'll keep this brief because I know everybody's getting hungry, but I spend my entire day working in a wood shop and a metals shop. I got my job as an ag teacher by basically lying to the administration, telling them that I knew how to run a wood shop and a metal shop. So when I say this and we go to remove the word vocational, I would just caution you to think hard about it, in that I, over the years, taking over that industrial arts department, have not gotten away from it. Almost my entire day is still teaching vocational ag. And when the kids ask me, oh, we're in the vocational department, I'm big on words. I use a lot of big words in class. And the word vocation comes from the same Latin word for vocalize, and it means calling. And in terms of an occupation. So I can't tell you over the years, and I've been doing it for 15 years now. That's sad, but because I feel like I've been doing it too. But in those 15 years, I can't tell you the number of kids that I find in town that say hi to me, and I ask what they're doing, and they're like, "Oh, I dropped out of college." And these kids, they need to be told that it's okay to go get a vocation and not go to college. I spend almost every student ends up starting college, and 25% of them end up finishing. So I would just caution the name change just for to get away from the negative connotation, and maybe spend a little more time talking about the positives of a vocation. Now, my vocation is education. That's going to be different for a lot of other people, but I know that I wouldn't be happy or good really at anything that didn't involve teaching somebody. But I spend a lot of time, with students whose vocation is being a carpenter or being a welder, and so much of their adult influence in their life besides me is telling them that that's a bad thing. You're not going to make enough money. You're too smart for that kind of thing. So I would just caution you to think about what the word vocation means and the ramifications of removing it.
Hi, I'm Chris Embry Moore from Section 9 Olympia. And I'm proud to say I was at that 1988 National Convention, which was my first one, which makes me really old, I guess. I think it is our responsibility to teach all children about agriculture. While I understand the need for vocational, and while that's important, it is also important for us to recognize that a lot of the kids that walk through our classrooms need to know something about our industry, even though they may or may not work in our industry.
And so that literacy, that education is what we are and what we should be about. No matter where the kids end up, they're going to be voters, they're going to be consumers, and they need to know what we do.
Please wait for the microphone.
I don't know that I hold this further away. Matt Meyer, Mendota. My inquiry is what has been done as far as this amendment came out? I think it was about the end of April. Where are we in researching what the costs will be associated with this name change? Or if a cost dollar figure is not available, I know letterhead and things like that are one aspect of it. What are all of the aspects involved from an administrative council level, from a 501c6 charter level involved in this name change? Is there a summary of that that's available?
There's some that's been looked into. Previously, IAVAT had already been holding the domains ILAAE. Believe it or not, when I first started this job 7 years ago, we had already been paying for those websites, thinking someday we were going to change. We have let those lapse because we now use ilaged.org for all of our systems, so we don't have to worry about a name change there. We have a one-stop shop for the website. We also have a few reports that we would have to file with the Secretary of State, but we've also gone through that recently with Illinois PAS. So PAS went from post-secondary agricultural student organization to the professional ag student organization, and those filing fees were fairly minimal. We also don't order or print any in-house letterhead. So we've got a pretty good idea of what all will have to change, and most of the fees we're looking at will be minimal as we've gone through it with a few other organizations recently.
Bill Hammis, Sherrard, Section 3. You know, some of the comments about vocational to agriculture. One of the things through the years I've been very, very proud of, I tell the students, agriculture is pretty much all encompassing. It relates to those going on to get their doctorates, you know, and such. It relates to those that are going out and having a hands-on career. It's everything, you know, all the different career areas. And so I don't see that you're leaving out anyone by eliminating the term vocational, because as I said, agriculture is so all encompassing.
Any further discussion? This amendment will be voted on, or this constitutional amendment will be voted on Thursday. John, do we have time for one committee report and voting? All right, at this time, we will move into the committee reports. I believe the Professional Development Committee is our first one. We are going to use the TT poll system in order to ensure that it is working for Thursday and that everyone can get logged in. So at the completion of this report, we will approve the report using the TT poll system. Again, if you are a paid IAVAT member, you should be able to get in based on the login that was displayed earlier.
Thank you. There's a QR code that has all the committee reports. I know you have it because I was the first one in. I made sure Donna had mine first, so she wouldn't email me 100 times. Just a couple of things regarding the workshops for tomorrow. Jennifer Waters has done an amazing job. I just helped very little here and there. There's 11 workshops that are full. So we are just asking, please do not go to a workshop that you didn't sign up for, especially if it's full, because you will take the materials for those who did sign up. And there's really good materials in some of those workshops, which is why those people signed up early. So please don't go to a workshop that is full. We have boards in the back of the room. Jennifer played cut and paste crafting game yesterday back there at the board. So if you forgot what you registered for, you can go back and look in your email. If you did not register, you can look for an unfull workshop. There's no need to sign up on that backboard though. You'll just sign up when you get to the room. With that being said, if you do not sign up when you get to that room, you will not get the evaluation email from Jennifer. So it's very important that you sign up in each room. There'll be a runner, state officer, FK, me, PD committee, whoever's there. You'll sign your name. Then Jennifer will send you your evaluation email. If you do not fill out the evaluation email, you will not get your PD hours. Don't email Jennifer and ask her where your PD hours are, because if you don't fill out the evaluation, you're not going to get it. Okay, so don't hound her and ask her unless you really truly do fill out the evaluation and don't get it. That would be the only time. With that being said. Yes, you can get it yourself. The evaluation will be there. Tomorrow for those members on the PD committee, we need help when we get out to Normal West, unloading Jennifer's car. There's lots and lots and lots of giveaways for these workshops. So we will eat really quick, and then those on PD committee or those who want to join our fund committee, we need help getting everything to the rooms out at Normal West tomorrow. Okay, so I want to thank Parker Bain for helping get all those rooms set up for tomorrow. Parker, do you have something that you want to add about that? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't use the microphone. So, Wi-Fi code and tech support will be at West. We're looking forward to hosting you.
And then just really quick, a huge thank you to Jennifer Waters and the FK staff all year for the PD. There was, as of April 15th, when I did my report, there was 45 workshops, 536 hours of credit, and 662 duplicated participants. So that's huge. Thank you to the FK staff for that. So at this time, Madam President, I move to approve the PD committee report if there's no other questions.
There is an implied second on the committee report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote. IAVAT 22. You will have to type that in the event that you voted this way last year. The website is ttpoll.com. Session ID IAVAT 22. You'll use the email that you use for IL Ag Ed. And your password is IAVAT, the 4 digits of the year that you were born, followed by lowercase a. And you should have 2 choices, A in favor, B opposed.
Please note while you're voting, we've got 160 votes in so far. Thank you to those that have got in. Anybody that has issues with your login, please email me today and we will get those resolved before Thursday. This is our test voting to make sure the system is working correctly. So email me if you have any issues. That said, please note, I know a few of you have emailed me and I'm sorry we forgot to mention this. As the board has indicated, voting is restricted to those that are active members in 2021, 2022. So pre-service teachers that are new next year, we're glad you're here, but you do not have a vote at this year's IAVAT conference since you were not active members in 2021, 2022. If anyone else has any issues, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Edgar. I heard a few light bulbs coming on up front. Somebody just got in, so we'll go ahead and let them vote and wrap things up shortly. Oh, you're done?
We have 182 votes in, which was near the number that had registered or logged in, 182 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you for that information. Before we break for lunch, there was a very special announcement that I forgot to make. In celebration of our 100 years, IAVAT is offering a lifetime dues package. That's always existed, but we are offering the opportunity for a 4-year installment plan rather than paying the entire $1,300 up front. So every year you are currently paying, sorry, page 48 tells me that you are paying $115 for your IAVAT dues each year. So you would pay $325 for the IAVAT portion of your dues each year for the next 4 years in order to achieve lifetime dues payment. And then you would not have to pay IAVAT in the future. The flyer for that will be available in a couple different places. It is displayed on the screen. It will be available on the IAVAT Facebook page to make it easier for you to get a hold of the QR code should you be interested. If you have already paid for this year, that those funds will be credited towards this payment. You would just need to make up the difference. Any further announcements for this business session? Special Projects Committee, do you have some door prizes? Okay. From the Special Projects Committee, if you have reconsidered your evening plans for tomorrow night and you have decided that trivia night is going to be the place to be, you are still able to get a team in. The link will be live until 5 o'clock tonight so that you can put your team in. There will be more announcements following lunch regarding some of the activities that are happening moving into the future. Door prizes are up. We have 10. Blue ticket, door prize ticket, 112126. Where are door prizes from this section? We have lots of nice office supplies. To start with, green ticket, 282019. Green ticket, 282013. Look at that. We're so excited for office supplies to start next year. It's awesome. Blue ticket, 112114. Blue ticket, 112159. We've moved into ISU. Thank you for your support. Green ticket, 212061. Blue ticket, 112115. Blue ticket, 112188. Blue ticket 112157. Whoa. Blue ticket 112157. Apparently we got the same roll of tickets 2 times. How about that? All right. Last one I did, 112157. Is that what you got? Okay. All right. Last one, green ticket, 282068. Thank you to all our door prize donors throughout the conference. Lunch is at 12:30 in Brickyard 123. Could we possibly adjourn the meeting before you all run out the door? Steve needs his name in the minutes, Mrs. Bunselmeyer. And the second by Christian Thurwanger needs his name in the minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. I think you're lying.